You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, I don't think a certain WNBA fandom is going to be very happy about what it is that Hoops legend, WNBA legend Lisa Leslie has to say about Caitlin Clark because, well, I just checked my notes. Not a single phrase about any other players in what she's got to say about Caitlin Clark and what she has done for the WNBA. Look, Lisa Leslie just saying the part we all know out loud. I did a video earlier. A preseason game got 1.3 million viewers. All right. Now, has any WNBA preseason game ever had that many viewers? Nope. Not a single one since they started tracking it in 2010, so 15 years. And only 2 NBA games have ever gotten more viewers in the preseason for a game. Both involve LeBron. One of those involved him starting his career with the Lakers. So I've said, look, there is no such thing as Caitlin Clark moving the needle now. In this league, she is the needle. All right, she will be the person of which every other player will now get compared to. Jordan has shown up in women's basketball. And man, we got to remember they played the Brazilian national team. They played a physical game and they were very good and sportsmanlike about their play. One day earlier, the Mystics tried to mug Sophie Cunningham in a preseason game. I'm really concerned about what this season is going to look like for these young ladies playing for the Fever. Truly. WNBA legend Lisa Leslie praised Caitlin Clark's impact on the league as the sharpshooter readies for her second season with the Indiana Fever. The former LA Spark superstar talked to Sports Illustrated about Clark and the chances of the Fever winning the WNBA championship thanks to a new head coach and veteran pieces the organization added in the offseason. Well, let me say this. Caitlin Clark has had an amazing impact on the WNBA. Leslie told the outlet her ability to come out and play, especially after her college season, and then to come into the WNBA and really just have the effect that she did, it was really outstanding. I was so proud of Caitlin. Leslie said that on paper, the Fever's roster, quote, looks amazing. Indiana added Sydney Colson, Sophie Cunningham, DeWanna Bonner to the roster. Natasha Howard, let's make sure we don't leave her out. And rehired Stephanie White as their new head coach. The Basketball Hall of Famers said with the buildup of the roster and heightened expectations also comes added pressure. Quote, so when you talk about Caitlin in her sophomore year, she's more seasoned. She's had time to rest. That's exactly why I think she might run away with this MVP. I mean, she had very little time from that late NC2A run into the league to start her pro career. She's been resting all off season. On top of that, a lot of these players played in the unrivaled. I think that's going to end up affecting a lot of these players more than we think. She's had time to really regroup and see exactly where she wants to go, Leslie said. Obviously, the Fever have a ton of new players, new coach, and that also builds a lot of pressure. It is so hard to win. It's not easy to win the first year that you get a new coach, new teammates, and you're trying to build chemistry. I don't want to put too much pressure. I think the Indiana Fever, as far as on paper, look amazing. Now they've got to put it all together. And they can, possibly. I'm not saying they can't. The All-Star game is in Indiana. Everything is laid out. Caitlin has had time to really process what the WNBA looks like and what it feels like. And it's going to be exciting, so I'm sure fans will tune in. Everything's already sold out, and some teams, when Caitlin comes to town, they're already had to get into larger arenas. So all those things about the Caitlin Clark effect are true. And he goes on to talk about her not being on the U.S. Women's Olympic squad, which still has a lot of people shaking their heads, even this year, even right now. It seems pretty absurd when you think about it. There's a lot of expectations. Somebody said something the other day about winning it all and brought up the term super team. And I said, look, I cover the NFL all the time, all right? And Philadelphia Eagles at one time had what was labeled a super team. In fact, Vince Young called them a super team, and they were an utter and complete disaster for the season. All right? Now, do I think that's going to happen? No. But that's why I always try to tamper expectations, even for this team. I said, I think we look up, and they're among the last 4 teams standing at the end of the year. Then anything can happen from that point on. But that's a pretty large elevation. And then, next year, they could win it all. Hell, they could win it all this year. It's certainly possible. They have a team that's built for it. All right? I think Stephanie White, that's a big part of this. But it's funny. There are certain WNBA veterans that completely get it. And Lisa Leslie is one of them. By the way, she was on Angel Reese's podcast a while back. And she just flat called out Angel Reese for missing layups. She said, you have got to work on those layups, and you've got to start hitting them. Honestly, if Angel ever gets that part of her game figured out, she's going to be a pretty good player, But she's got to get more efficient. The rebounds are one thing. You can't be a liability on the offensive side. You can't. So this is interesting. This is going to leave the haters in shambles. They hate this kind of thing. They're going to hear this kind of thing. And we'll look up in a couple of days on Twitter when this starts making the rounds, and they'll be cussing out Lisa Leslie like they were Cheryl Miller. There is no limits to their ignorance, truly. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.